hand straight over to David to welcome everybody.
Thank you, Joy. So, welcome everybody to the MIRA program demo day, and we are certainly excited to have you all here and all the teams as well. It was from an early age that I particularly was interested in mining. When I was a small boy, I was introduced to the art of panning for gold by my grandparents, who had a dairy farm and an orchard outside of Melbourne. During the Depression years in 1930s, the locals could supplement their income by fossicking for gold in the creeks and gullies in the districts around Panton Hill, St Andrews and Smith's Gully, so named after my relatives. The excitement of prospecting was thus bred into me, and over the last 40 years or so has manifested itself in various ways, from metal detecting to fossicking for gems, hunting for rare antiques, and to completing studies as a mining operations field assistant, which I did in Adelaide in the 1980s. But most recently, through searching for innovation, clever ideas, and new business models in the form of entrepreneurs from our region. Now, the MIRA program is powered by Oriel Jam, part of startup Toowoomba, and is hosted at Canvas Co-working. We held this year's program online due to COVID-19, and we delivered 6 hours of workshops on a range of topics that included problem, solution and customer fit, prototype development and product market fit, business models and pipeline, legal considerations of intellectual property and negotiating, brand, marketing and communications, and finally, how to craft a winning pitch. And we hosted expert panel sessions with 20 mentors and 90 individual one-on-one sessions for participants to connect with the expert mentors, which is huge. And we are so grateful for the time and the effort that these experts contributed. The program is funded by METS Ignited, an industry-led, government-funded growth centre for the mining equipment, technology and services sector, METS sector. And it's co-funded by the Department of State Development, Manufacturing, Infrastructure and Planning. And I'd also like to acknowledge that we have here today some of the guys from TISB and the Southern Queensland Export Hub. Now, the Southern Queensland Export Hub is developed and delivered by TSBE, and it will work with businesses to build their skills and their know-how and to harness domestic and global opportunities leading to economic growth, including global reach through local infrastructure and job creation across the region, and by developing globally competitive SMEs. Now, the Southern Queensland Export Hub offers the SQ Export Hub Oil and Gas Energy Resources Program, and they are super keen to connect with ventures that may suit the program. And I'll share some links to that in the chat shortly. So thank you everybody for joining us today. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the team's pitch. And yeah, I'll just pop it back to you for a moment. Joy, thank you.
Wonderful, thanks for that, David. So as David mentioned, this particular program, MIRA, has been supported and initiated by METS Ignited. So for now, I'd like to invite Ian Dover, who's the General Manager of METS Ignited, to give us a little bit more insight into METS. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let Ian show you a few pretty pictures to accompany his words. Thanks, Ian.
Thanks, Joy. Hi, David. Hello to everybody. So I'm just trying to organise to share my screen at the moment. How's that?
It's on its way. And there it is as slides.
Okay, is that full screen?
And we've actually got your notes. So we're seeing your notes page.
Ah, I don't even know what's on the notes page.
We can see what's coming.
Well, I didn't make any notes for this, so it's probably off somebody else's.
It's just showing the next slide as well.
Okay. Oh, okay, what I'll do is I'll just come back to that. How's that? Okay.
That will be fine.
So the METS industry is extremely important to Australia. It's only been defined relatively recently, since about 2012, 2013. But in that time, we've actually organised the industry to sort of come out and let itself be known. And overall, if you look at METS and mining, you know, we're seeing a total value add, gross value add of, you know, 250 to 300 billion dollars. This is prior to the COVID-19, and it hasn't gone down much at all, if any, in that time. Of that, the METS industry, equipment, technology, and services into mining, is responsible for over $90 billion of gross value add. Overall, we're in the METS and mining, it's 1 million jobs or more, and it's an incredible amount of the total gross domestic product. However, mining is changing and new skills are required. And we've seen this particularly just in the last 3 months as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This has accelerated the change, it's accelerated the adoption of technology, and it's actually given this decade, when we were planning to have a good deal of change in the industry, an incredible boost in the short term. I'd like to point out something in particular from a report that we had done last year, or 2 years ago now, Staying Ahead of the Game, an economic analysis. And if we go to the sort of bottom left, and you'll see something called total gross value add, total GVA there. Just above that, it has systems impact. And the systems impact is 22 billion, or a $52 billion addition in value add that is expected in by 2030 as a result of the implementation of digital technologies covering robotics, automation, analytics, data, sensing, and so on. That systems impact is the result of integration. And the integration of technology into the mining value chains, mining operations in Australia, is what Australia has been known for 100 years or more. Not just digital technology, but any technologies. The Australian mining DNA has been essentially to take technology products that other people have invented around the world and included in Australia, and introduce them, integrate them into mining operations, and make them work pretty well the best in the world. Australian mines are some of the most efficient operations in the world. And that DNA is going to continue as we move the METS sector into more digitally enabled value chains over the coming decade. So that's where the big opportunities are. That's where the huge benefit is to Australia. And that's why we're trying to get the word out to the Australian community that the METS industry is something not to be shunned, but something to put your sons and daughters into, because not only is it a significant economic earner for Australia, it's also going to be responsible for a lot of the sustainability, environmental performance, and responsible mining that will come out of the industry, not only in Australia, but around the world. So our focus for development is really quite limited at this point in time, and it's limited because over the last few years, we've had a number of things which we've explored, and just in the last 1 to 2 years, we've focused that down into a few things which we believe are going to be the way that the industry moves, and it's going to provide the greatest opportunities for growth in the METS industry in Australia. In the middle there, you see commercialization and accelerators, which is what you're involved with now. This is exceptionally important. In Australia, we've researched a lot, we've developed a lot of technology, but we haven't commercialized. We've been very, very poor at our commercialization. So things like MIRA, things like the igniting METS accelerators, and there'll be another scale-up accelerator starting very soon, are incredibly important, you know, to getting the technology that's developed out into the industry. Clustering collaboration capabilities is the way we do it. It's not going to happen, you know, by a single company doing things. The industry is too complex. The installation, the integration costs are too much to bear for single companies. Therefore, we need to get people working together. By doing that, we're going to increase our global competitiveness and grow our exports. So COVID-19 has accelerated all of this. And I just got to move the thing from my screen here so I can see what I'm talking about. Okay. The international supply chains have been broken, and the miners are seeking to manage risk by increasing local supply and support. We're hearing this not necessarily from the tier 1 miners, but all the mid-tier miners. You know, they really need local support, and it's something which is an opportunity now for Australian METS. Australian METS companies that deliver some or all of their products digitally are now in great demand. In the last 2 to 3 months, we've found that those companies that are delivering digitally, or they're accepting data from mining operations and then presenting operational decisions back to them, are the ones that are growing incredibly. In fact, they're growing so much that some of these companies can't keep up with the demand. The technology integration in mining is vital, as I said earlier. And also, we're now seeing the virtual trade mission is now here. It's something that we started to talk about at the beginning of METS Ignited. You know, why do we go on physical trade missions when so much can be done by video conferencing? Well, we're in the process of piloting that at the moment. And so, you know, that's been courtesy of the COVID-19 and also the growth in video conferencing. So the question to you today, and beyond this, as a result of your demonstrations, your presentations today, the big question now is, what does this do to business models? In the last 2 to 3 months, we've seen changes, and we're not going to see those changes revert back to what was business as usual before. The business models are changing. It's a great opportunity. It's difficult, I know, with regard to the pandemic, but in some cases, and in the METS case in particular, it's an opportunity to help grow the industry, not only in Australia, but its international footprint as well. So thanks very much. Stay in touch.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ian. And thanks, I guess, from David and myself for your support in making sure that MIRA could go ahead this year again. We're really grateful for the opportunity to be involved and obviously help with driving innovation in the METS sector, particularly in regional areas. So yeah, thanks for putting your trust in us to bring this program through again.
It's been a pleasure, and we love to see what's happening, and we love what you're doing. So thank you.
Awesome. So I'll just pop my slides back up there again. So you would have received a program. However, in deciding this morning how we were going to do things, I've just shuffled things around a little bit in the order. So we're going to go through our team pitches now, but then we're going to thank our mentors and do some presentations before we go out into the breakout rooms to chat with the team. So just letting you know that in advance. But what we're going to do instead as well is give each team the opportunity not only to present their pitch, which has been video recorded because of potential bandwidth issues, which a few of us are suffering from this morning, but we are going to also give a few minutes of Q&A after each pitch. So what we'd like you to do, if you think of a question, is to just pop it into the chat. You can send it to everyone, or you can just send it to David or myself privately is fine. And then we'll ask a few of those live. We won't do it for too long, but we'll ask a few. So the teams will have an opportunity to respond directly after their pitch is played. And then later on, we'll also give you the opportunity to talk to each of the teams in a breakout room. So we'll pop them all into breakout rooms, and then you can let us know who you'd like to talk to, and we'll pop you in a room with them, with a few other people. So just imagine as though you had listened to the pictures, and then afterward you might grab a drink and then go and walk up to somebody and have a bit of a chat, or listen to the conversation that's happening around that person. It's the same thing. You just have to tell me which direction you want to head in the room, and then we'll make that happen. So keep that in mind. But for the process of going through the pictures, we will have a little Q&A straight after. So as you're listening, if you think of something, type it in the chat, and then we'll ask a few of those before we move on to the next pitch. So what we're going to do is play the first one, and the bandwidth gods being with us, everyone will be able to see it in a clear image, and we're grateful that Kurt is actually in an area that has particularly good bandwidth. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to hand over to Kurt to share his screen and introduce our first team's pitch, which is from Darren Oliver and Simon Turner from SensorWeb. So it'll just take a moment to come through. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Simon. I'm one of the founders of SensorWeb. I wish I could be with you today. However, due to this COVID international crisis, we're all having to investigate remote meeting and presentation technologies. Zoom has come out of nowhere to be the new backbone of business activities. Imagine if we could digitize, automate, and give remote access to radiation levels and events in real time, and bring this online revolution to a completely analog and hands-on radiation safety and compliance space. My journey into SensorWeb began over 10 years ago while I was part of the team decommissioning a nuclear reactor. Most mornings I would come in and find the radiation field and radiation contamination units reading 0. Well, that's good, right? Well, it is if the units are working. I started doing routine checks of these instruments and regularly found them non-functioning. Therefore, the staff were working with no safety alerts. I set about finding a unit that was able to provide a high level of safety for radiation workers, and nothing existed on the market. So for the federal government, I built a crazy expensive, completely immobile and power-hungry boutique solution using off-the-shelf components. About 5 years later, I moved to a university and had to do it all again. Monitoring of radiation exposure is currently done through users wearing or placing a type of badge that records the amount of radiation it is exposed to, and at the end of 3 months, the badge is sent off to be read, and then you have to wait another 3 months for the report. This process is highly manual and takes about 6 months from the user first wearing the badge to receive any indication of their dose. This is like driving your car for 6 months without a speedo and setting your driving habits and speed control by reviewing the speeding tickets that you've received at the end of the 6 months. Let that sink in while you consider we're talking about a completely invisible hazard. Well, we've built the speedo for radiation monitoring. I don't want to alarm you, but radiation is everywhere. This problem currently exists for dentists, medical X-ray and isotope facilities, airport security, customs screening, mines and industrial testing. Of course, also for research and nuclear facilities. In this mining space, this is further complicated by the isolated nature of operations. After radiation issues are eventually found, usually after a breach is reported, it can take weeks before a specialist is able to visit site. Miners and tour guides are actually exposed to the highest yearly radiation exposure occupationally, through both direct exposure from natural emission from rocks and the inhalation of radon. The SensorWeb solution is an end-to-end, fully scalable, enterprise-level radiation monitoring system with automated alerts and reporting. The interface presents radiation data in a clear and easy-to-understand way. All IP has been owned by us and developed both the hardware and control interface in-house. SensorWeb instrumentation survived a hot, wet Northern Territory with 48-degree days and 98% humidity installed at a diamond mining facility. While the industrial mining equipment around it failed, SensorWeb instrumentation was used remotely to diagnose problems with their X-rays. Another client utilized our system for monitoring and reporting, while also sharing research sample results in real time with international research partners. In all cases, we've reduced the cost of and simplified compliance while improving operator understanding and staff confidence in their own safety. The current Australian market size for radiation monitoring is over 50 million Australian dollars a year, with a total addressable market of 15 billion US dollars and a 7.8% annual growth rate. An increased investment is expected over the next 5 years of 700 million in the US nuclear industry alone. The current marketplace is dominated by large organisations utilising antique technology. Only 2 other competitors have developed connected devices, but all require the client to develop their own interface. Our approach to market is a sensor as a service subscription, making our system a fully maintained service with a small ongoing operational expense, in contrast to a high capital expense. We're uniquely equipped to bring this product to our clients and market due to our highly experienced team. I've worked for 20 years in radiation safety management in nuclear, medical, mining and research organisations. I'm currently the Queensland Chair of the Australasian Radiation Protection Society and internationally regarded as the leader in radiation systems and detection innovation. Darren has over 20 years in enterprise IT and has been internationally awarded for innovative IT solutions and management. He is currently the Queensland Branch Executive for the Australian Computer Society. In the last 6 months, we've been recognised as the most innovative business in Australia and shared the award for Best Hardware in 2018 Blue Box Awards. The World Nuclear Gazette wrote an article highlighting our unique and operationally simplified approach to existing compliance problems. We are looking for warm introductions to decision makers in medical.
We'll just give that a second to load. Okay, Simon, you're on the line. Do you want to tell us what you were going to say?
Yeah, so we are looking for warm introductions to mining and medical facilities that want to reduce their compliance cost and simplify their radiation protection opportunities. So we are SensorWeb and we are the future of radiation monitoring.
Awesome, thank you for that. So if you have a question, and I think we need a little round of applause, and I know you can't see everyone and you can't hear everyone, but I'll give you a little clap. So if you have a question for Darren and Simon, please pop it into the chat. You can do that open to everybody, or you can just send it to me privately. So Joy Taylor, you can send a private message and I'll ask it on your behalf, and we can get that. But you will also have the opportunity to chat to Darren and Simon in a breakout room afterward as well. So a few comments coming through there. Great pitch, so well done, guys. And that is good. Thank you. Okay, so could you give us an idea of what type of companies you would prefer to connect with, or that you want to connect with, Simon?
So initially this product was designed in the industrial and nuclear safety space, and it's already been tested in the mining space as well as in the medical research space. We're happy to help either transport, medical or mining facilities. At the moment, most of our clients are in the mining sector and research sector. So if you've got a radiation problem, that's basically anyone that's utilizing X-rays. Even primary farm producing are currently utilizing gamma irradiation to sterilize vegetables for longer shelf life. So radiation is actually a subset of a whole bunch of industries. So we can't really target one industry in particular, but we do have specific pieces of hardware that work in certain industries better. So anyone that's in mining, medical, transport, airport security, we have a turnkey solution currently available for completely automating radiation safety and allowing remote access and remote consultation from specialists.
Wonderful. Thanks for that, Simon. And just another question that's come through, asking, are you currently seeking investment in your business?
So we're seeking, we're open to discussing any opportunities that might come up. We're not certainly not against seeking investment, but we're looking for that smart money, to use the term, to have people who are invested in our company who can also open the doors to industries or companies that we don't have that access to. So we're seeking strategic partners in that regard.
Wonderful. Thanks, Darren. And also the question extends as well. Are you looking, I think it's not a long question, but are you looking to engage with universities, or perhaps are you already engaged? And I know you mentioned a little, but if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking to work with universities. Simon has experience working in some universities previously, and there's quite a few areas in universities that are beneficial for us, particularly around the research and nuclear medicine space. But yeah, many areas, but Simon can elaborate on that if you'd like to.
I think we could be both beneficial to universities, but there's a couple of products that we'd like to push out at the end of the year that I think it would be very beneficial to us and the university to partner as we go forward in finalising the development and testing these products.
Wonderful, excellent. A couple more questions. So now Bevan has put his open to everyone, so you can see this later as well, guys. He's got a bit more of suggestion for you, but also wondering, have you approached any of the uranium mines in Australia? And he's got some connection there. So is uranium something you're working with or working towards?
So at present, we're already working with a thorium uranium processing facility, but we're not in any of the uranium mines at the moment. One of our partnerships that we're working with, so we're going into a hardware architecture where our system will be placed into some physical monitoring devices that are part of a whole mine slew of things, and they're already in Olympic Dam. So we're looking to see, hopefully there'll be a rollout of us into that space as well in the next year.
Awesome, wonderful. And we'll share that chat with you as well, so you can connect with Bevan. Another question is, have you looked at this product for export?
So the funny thing with the export is that we've exhibited overseas a number of times, and by doing that, we attract the Australian, we had to go overseas to get our Australian client. So because of the nuclear industry is quite small in Australia, we've been over to Europe and to America. It was meant to be in Asia this year as well, but obviously that's put the pause on that. But we are definitely looking for export, and it is pretty much a turnkey solution for any export. There's not a lot of redevelopment that needs to happen except for maybe turning meters into feet, but that's about it.
Awesome, wonderful. Well, thank you very much, guys. I think there's a couple more things coming through, but we might save those for the breakout rooms, and you can have a bit more detailed chat about that. And we also encourage anyone who wants to connect, feel free to flick the guys even a private message through the chat with your email or your phone number or something like that, so Darren and Simon can definitely touch base with you afterward, but we'll save the others for later on. Just one question that has come through about making the videos available for afterward. Yes, we will be making the pitch videos available, so if you miss a bit or you maybe missed one, you've come in late, or you need to drop off early, you will be able to view them afterward. All right, so our next team is Max Lancer. So we have got Tree with us today, and I don't think David's been able to join us this morning, but David Pring and Tree Tien are from Max Lancer, and we're going to hear their pitch now. So thanks, Kurt. When you're ready, we'll get you to share that one for us.
Hi everyone, I'm David and this is my partner Tree, introducing MaxLancer, an online platform connecting business users of engineering services with engineering professionals.
I have first-hand experience of the challenges in finding truly experienced engineers and then managing their projects with a mix of tools and apps. Unless close monitoring the projects is possible, the quality of any work is often difficult to evaluate. Mistakes, if not picked up quickly, can lead to inadequate designs, product failures. The financial risks could be crippling for a business.
Often small to medium businesses with a need for an engineer have difficulty in justifying an additional full-time employee for a project or an R&D initiative. It's expensive to hire and then lay off if a permanent role cannot be established. MaxLancer provides a cost-effective solution to this problem. Currently, there is no specialised pool of top engineering professionals for freelance engagement or short-term projects. The market is fragmented between existing platforms for many professions and jobs and employment agencies. Discussions with small to medium engineering businesses servicing the mining industry confirm that sourcing additional engineering resources is expensive and often cyclical. You cannot do the work without the resources, but without the work, you cannot justify hiring additional engineers either.
MaxLancer's solution is simple. Projects are posted by clients. They search, assisted by AI, for suitable service providers. Once engaged, the project is managed and monitored with clear communication through the platform. On completion, the project payments are met securely.
There are two channels of customers. Firstly, the freelance engineering professionals, either individuals or dedicated businesses of service providers with multiple engineers. Secondly, there is the client businesses being users of employment agencies and may contract out services to their end user clients. So how are we different? MaxLancer is dedicated to matching experienced engineering professionals with businesses and projects conducted on a remote basis. The platform handles engagement, management, all communications, documentation, and then secure payments. So what do we need now? A beta version will be released in June of 2020 this year. We need users to trial the platform and give us feedback. We need to develop a digital marketing plan for our two streams of users, engineering service providers and business users of those services. We need introductions to engineering professionals who would be of great interest, introductions to businesses who are either currently using freelancer engineering services or in the market would be most welcome.
MaxLancer.com, engineering on demand. We're servicing our clients all over the globe. When you sign in and access to beta versions, it will lead you to the workbench. In the workbench, you can post a new project, and in each project, you will see the overview, detail. You can plan for your team. For example, in this project, you have two engineering service providers. You can check their proposal. When you accept their proposal, they will become your team member. You can send him a message via our integrated chatting system. You can assign tasks. For example, if you have a task here, you can see all the process flow from task acceptance to progress report to payment and to completion. Here you can see the payment and the progress report.
We've still got a little bit to go on that one, so we might just see if we can get that back. So, sorry, we'll just try and catch that up to where we were. And Kurt, if yours isn't coming back up, I might just run it from mine. I'm sorry, I've lost visual of your slides. So the wonders of tech. Okay, I might just... Sorry guys, give us 2 seconds.
It is still amazing that we have the power to be able to deliver these things, despite the fact that we have more people today than ever on the internet. So yeah, that was running so smoothly until that point where it just stops. But here you go.
All right, we'll give this a try and hopefully you can hear. Please let me know, David, if you can't hear the audio.
You can also check for activities, unread and read. So every time you see the activities, click on this and it leads you to the right place to do the next action.
Thank you for your interest and attendance. If you have any interest or questions, please don't hesitate to contact us by email.
Wonderful. All righty. So, sorry, we'll just stop sharing that one. So we've got Tree on the line, and sorry, it was a little bit mixed, but hopefully you got the message there of what that one was all about. So if you've got questions, again, please just pop them into the chat and either open to everyone, or you can just drop them to myself or David, but probably easiest just to me for now, and we can ask them on your behalf. So we do have a question there, which is how does Max Lancer generate revenue and how much does it cost? So are you charging both sides, or what's your revenue stream there, Tree?
Yeah, we have 2 streams of revenue. One is for our client. We take commission, proportionally 50% of the project cost, and it will be free for the first 12 months. But after the first 12 months, we're gonna have the subscription fee, and for the engineering service provider, they get 100% of the project cost. We don't get anything from them for the first 12 months. But after that, we charge only minimum $9 per month subscription.
Wonderful. That's great. Thanks for that, Tree. Another question as well. So how does a customer know the experience and quality of the engineer?
Yeah, we have our marking system. So every user or every service provider have to pass our marking. And then we will have the screener, license screener come in and check the quality and do the interview carefully before we accepting anyone in our system providing the service.
Excellent, thank you. And another question, so Anthony's just asked, can you talk a little bit more about the frustrations that currently exist and then how your platform will help people overcome them?
Yeah, the 2 biggest giants in the field is freelancer.com and Upwork. They are mixed of occupations, and the quality of the service providers ranging from very low to very high, and it's really hard to pick up the right person at the start, or we have to do a lot of trial and error, and it probably cost you a lot more in timing and in money, and sometimes we don't get the result that we want after a trial period. And secondly, the management system specific for engineering is not great. There it's very simple, available for any service available now. We are very detailed and automatically organized and help the process, your engineering process flow smoothly.
Wonderful, very good. So if you had another question, I think that might be all, although I know sometimes it takes people a little while to type their question. So if you had anything else, pop it in there quickly, but otherwise remember you will have an opportunity to chat with Tree in the breakout rooms afterward. So you can definitely have a bit more of a conversation there if you think of something later on. But otherwise, I think that's all we've got there for now. So thanks so much, Tree. That's really great and good to have you involved in this program as well.
Thank you, everyone.
So we'll move to our next presenter, which is Hensley. Now, Hensley is from JWA and he is going to be talking for us today. So I'll just check with Kurt if you're good with that one. Otherwise, we could get Hensley to run it live, but we'll try and go with the video if we can. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hensley Wee of JWA Oilfield Supplies. My talk today is to introduce our novel water purification technology to you. So let's get right into it. Over a decade ago, our team of very clever engineers started by asking the following questions. 1, how do we extract pure water? 2, from any type of input stream? And 3, without using large amounts of electricity. We reviewed what was available in the marketplace and saw 2 main methods. The first being reverse osmosis, which uses filters to screen solids. This requires second and third stage systems, which drives up the cost exponentially in order to process dirtier streams. With the other option of different types of mechanical presses, they use large amounts of energy to either wring out or spin out moisture from the input stream. With this in mind, the team took to the task and looked to nature for inspiration. What is nature's solution? This is something we're very familiar with, especially during the wet season, the rain cycle, the sun evaporating and distilling water molecules and separating it directly from the earth. To quote Elon Musk, can we tap this near limitless nuclear fusion device in our sky? To this dramatic effect. We took notes and went to the drawing board, attempting to mimic nature, and squeezed the evaporation and rain cycle into a device. There are quite a number of places in the world where solar irradiance is ideal for solar technologies. These places are generally the driest and have the most pressing water challenges. One country in particular is quite familiar to all of us, so let's zoom in. As you can see, Australia is a country perfect for solar. This is the initial prototype that we built. Trials were conducted with the Arizona State University. In this image, you can see that we've unhooked the system in order to see the steam being produced. Typically, the water is captured. We took the time to engineer ways to enhance the efficiencies of our design. First of all, we put the input stream under a vacuum. This drops the boiling point of water down to 83 degrees Celsius. During the conversion of water into steam, it pulls a large amount of heat in order to break its bonds. We hoop the tubes back on itself, so when the steam condenses back into water, it preheats the water going in. This recycling of heat exchange retains the energy within the horizontal column, and we're able to get a gain-output ratio of 5.5 times with an estimated 11 times when we connect multiple units together. These are test results from produced water from fracking running through our device. We've dropped the TDS, which is the total dissolved solids, of 210,000 parts per million down to 12 parts per million. As a comparison, water from the tap is around 300 parts per million. Heartened by our results, we now have a full-scale design. What you see here is a 5-section device with a footprint of about 300 square meters. This produces an average of 40,000 liters of pure water per day. We can add multiple sections together to get a higher output in megaliters or gigaliter volumes. In essence, we're able to take pure water out from any still pumpable input and obtain a dry output. In fact, the more solids there are within the stream, the less water there is to heat, and it's actually more efficient the more solids there are. This is the exact opposite of current systems where high TDS inputs get quite challenging. So here are 3 simplified examples of our technology. 1, you're able to get a seawater or hypersaline brine as an input. You get pure water out and a dry salt out the end. You could put tailings in and get dry tailings at the end. You can also input sewage sludge and get biosolids. And with a few tweaks, we can even get biochar out of our device. Here's a quick look at Queensland and New South Wales biosolid stabilization requirements. By removing moisture to under 10% and a heat pasteurization process, we're able to produce grade A biosolids. We can go all the way down to 0 moisture. However, leaving some moisture is good to manage dust issues. In summary, we believe this is a game changer for industries. We can separate pure water out from many different types of input streams with insoluble solids like rock in it, and that's not a problem. There's no costly filter replacements. We do not use filters or membranes. We can achieve 0 liquids discharge at orders of magnitude cheaper than current systems. Most of it is because we're using solar as the energy input, which greatly reduces the electricity costs compared to other systems. This also saves a great amount on fuel, especially if you're running off a generator set without access to mains power. This is also scalable to megaliter and gigaliter volumes as the system is modular. We currently have 4 resource companies who are trialing our technology this year, and we're excited to share the results when we have them. If you see the potential in our technology to reverse our environmental impact on the planet, please note my contact details and get in touch. I really look forward to connect. We look forward to have your questions, and thank you for your attention today.
Wonderful, excellent. We got all the way through that one, so that's great. So thanks, Hensley, for putting that together. So if you have a question for Hensley, then please pop it in the chat and we can raise that. And we've got a couple coming through already. So one question is, how does this device handle hydrocarbons or contaminated soils?
So because this is a distillation process, hydrocarbons or VOCs would come out on the front end. So because it runs off a different temperature, so that would you'll have a split stream of hydrocarbons or VOCs coming out first, then water, and then you've got the solids that come out on a third output stream.
Wonderful, thanks Hensley. And another question, is there a small scale unit suitable for processing poor bore water for a typical dwelling?
Yes, so the mirrors are going to be a fixed size and they're quite large. So they're 12 meters on the short side of the device. So we can produce smaller units, but as a minimum, you would be looking at a unit that's about 150 square meters. And that would produce somewhere around 20,000 liters per day. We will look at commercialization options for residential and smaller types of dwellings in the future, but because the molding cost is quite large, we decided to go with industry first, and as more capital comes available, we'll look at smaller scaled down devices.
Excellent, thank you. And another question, what does the OPEX cost and maintenance look like for your technology?
So the operating costs will be a lot cheaper than reverse osmosis systems because we don't use filters, like I mentioned. And the other thing would be the fuel burn or electricity costs, which we greatly reduce. Now, in terms of the OPEX costs, generally it will be automated. You don't really need to do too much to it, but every 2 or 3 months we expect to need to do an acid wash through the system, which is just a 2-hour process.
Excellent, thank you. All right. So if you've got other questions for Hensley, then quickly pop them in if you've got a little question. Otherwise, you can hold it and have a chat with Hensley in the breakouts a little bit later on. And I think I got them. Oh, there was one as well. So you can just confirming, you can separate the solid as one thing and the liquid as another. So if it was like muddy coal seam gas fluid, you could separate those two.
Yeah, so that's the main market we're going for, and 3 of the trials are with oil and gas companies. And so they will be looking to dewater the produced water from drilling to take the pure water out. And then the idea is you'd have either mud or salts that left behind.
Excellent. And another one, so it was a good presentation, opportunity in CSG industry, considerable water. Yes, and I think that was just actually answered then. So CSG, yeah, so yeah. Same question. Awesome. Wonderful. All right, well, thank you for that. Well done. And we'll no doubt have some more conversation with you in the breakout rooms as well. So we will jump to our next presentation now, which is from RPI Solutions. So Abby and Ben, and we've got Abby on the line with us today, but Ben is working, so he isn't able to be here at the moment. There we go.
Hi, I'm Abby McKenna, Co-Director of Resource and Primary Industry Solutions, and together with my partner Ben, we are presenting our schedule and system to help mining companies come in line with the new progressive rehabilitation and mine closure guidelines, whilst remaining highly profitable and increasing their social licence to operate. Now, Ben and I have got 5 amazing daughters, and we made a solid promise to them that we would positively impact the world that we were handing over to them. That, coupled with Ben's 20 years experience in the mining and agricultural industries, along with working in a partnership with Hensley and JWA Oil to help the mining industry get great value with a concentrated solar water technology, we realised that key decision makers in mining were just like us. They were mums, dads, aunties, uncles, grandparents, and they had to run a profitable business. Of course, it's a delicate balancing act, but they also greatly cared about the way that they left their community and the environment in which they were operating. Now, there's a number of problems to achieving a high standard of rehabilitation. It costs about $10,000 just to seed 1 acre of land, and that traditional seed sowing method will return a company an establishment rate of about 0 to 5%. So those were 2 points that we greatly wanted to improve. We also had a CEO say something to us that really stuck with us, and that was that he felt that it didn't matter what good he did for the community and the environment, that people had made up their minds that his company was simply there to extract minerals from the ground and make money from that. So we wanted to do something that was going to turn heads, that was going to improve the reputation of the individual companies, but also the mining industry itself. So what did we do? As you know, we've been working with Hensley, and we've got this great piece of technology that can extract 100% of water from any water source. But we wanted to take it one step further and look at the back end. What could we do with the water, and what could we do with the waste that was going to, of course, benefit the community and the environment, but also return really seriously great value for the company as well. So what we've done is we've created an end-to-end and scalable solution that's really easy for companies to utilize during the progressive rehabilitation phases. And that is to put hydroponic farms onto the water stream. This increases the turnover rate of plants by up to 50% when you compare the growth rates with nurseries, even more so when you compare the growth rate with traditional seed sowing methods. And this sets us up with a really simple, beautiful, progressive cycle. You simply nurture the crops in the hydroponic farm, translocate them out to the revegetation site or the rehab site, all the while you're nurturing another crop ready for the next translocation. So it's this really easy, beautiful cycle. From there, we simply can incorporate RPI's CCC methodology during the translocation process. This is a program that increases the establishment rates and also reduces costs for companies during rehab. Now, there's so many benefits to using the hydroponic farms, but I'm going to point out just a couple here today because I've only got 5 minutes. Using the hydroponic farms in rehabilitation or progressive rehabilitation means that your rehabilitation is done and complete by the end of mine life. So there's no cost blowouts or ongoing problems with rehabilitation and care care and maintenance. These systems are also containerized. This means they become a company asset. You can simply pick them up, move them to the next site, or move them around on the project as you need to. So as I said, they become a company asset. You can also scale the project. So the bigger the project, we simply put more units down, and we can semi-automate or fully automate these systems to make it safe and really, really easy to operate. Now, previously I spoke about wanting to help companies to benefit also from their post-mine land uses, as well as helping the communities that they're operating in. So the hydroponic farms do this really easily. They're interchangeable. Companies can utilize the hydroponic farms for community enterprises. Community can use them to grow produce, such as a food to fork or a bush tucker enterprise, creating jobs and prosperity. Companies can utilize the hydroponic farms to grow quick growing fodder feed for their landowner. You can also create produce with the hydroponic farms to service your own work camp, saving money, giving beautiful, nutritious food. And my favorite, the hydroponic farms help a company to diversify their income. You become a supplier by selling the produce or the fodder to downstream value buyers. So unlike other post-mine landing uses, you actually come out with a product. So this brings us to our market. We are working with anyone undertaking an application in mining or environment and has to also submit a progressive rehabilitation and mine closure plan. We're also working with operational sites who want to diversify their income or increase their rehabilitation standards or implement a mutually beneficial post-mine land use. And we're also working with mines under care and maintenance. There are so many pits out there with beautiful water that we could really utilize for the benefit of the community or the environment and optimize for the company as well. So now to our partner call out. We are looking for anyone who is excited as us to help us refine some of the data around growing native plants in the hydroponic systems. We already have great data and know that it works really well for leafy greens, cannabis and fodder. And the technology is going to be exactly the same, but we do need to refine the data around some growth times and also some nutritional application. We're also looking for anyone who is interested in running a pilot with us in the future with the hydroponic farms. We already have the 4 pilots going with the concentrated solar unit, but anyone that would like that extra application in rehabilitation or land uses, please give us a call. And this is how you can do that. Make sure you screenshot this. So here is our email and our phone number, and my LinkedIn is Abby, spell Abby like Abbey Road, RPI 033. Thank you so very much for your time. We hope you have an amazing week, and we look forward to hearing.
Wonderful, and I'm pretty sure she said we look forward to hearing from you. Excellent. So we've got Abby with us. So if you've got questions for Abby, then please pop them in the chat and we can direct them to her. And of course, Abby will be available to have some more conversations through the breakout rooms afterward as well. So we've got one question here. So what's happening with the salt as a byproduct? And is that Hensley's responsibility or yours?
Anthony, that is such a good question. So that's both of our responsibilities, meaning that we're working together to look at that. And Hensley, if you want to jump in at any point, mate, make sure that you do. Because there is part of what RPI Solutions is doing is looking at how we can value add the waste and how we can value add the water as well. So there's a number of different options for the salt that we have been looking at. Hensley, are we allowed to drop them or?
We can, I guess. There are quite a few different customers that have different ideas on how they can use the salts. So one of the smart ways one company is looking at is that they are planning to use the salts in very large volumes and putting it back into the drilling mud mix to weigh the muds down. And so that's one way that they're able to reuse the salts. Other customers are looking at salt licks, but it really depends on what the content of the salt looks like at the end of the when we basically dewater it. So it depends on the quality of what's there. Some customers are able to actually discharge water with salts in it onto the ground, but it can't exceed a certain salinity. So yeah, everyone's got a different take.
Excellent. Thanks for jumping in on that, Hensley. Abby, you mentioned as well that there were a number of other benefits, but we only gave you 5 minutes. So can you please maybe just tell us a little bit about a couple of the others?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a number of problems with cost blowouts in rehabilitation in mining at the moment. And there's a lot of, some of those costs people don't initially realize straight away. So one of them, as an example, is secondary contamination. When you're translocating plants from a nursery out to site, you can sometimes translocate weeds and pests with them. And because the plants are being controlled in a hydroponic farm, there's no management or maintenance needed for that because there's no cross-contamination. There's no herbicides or pesticides needed in the hydroponic farms either, so that saves costs, and it's also chemically free, which is good for the environment, especially if you're on land with a landholder and farming and you don't want those herbicides and pesticides, you know, going across to the wheat crops or the barley crops or whatever they're growing. The application of nutrients is controlled, so there's no runoff. You're not wasting water there. There's no issues with predators or weather damage when you're growing when they're at the most volatile stage of growth. And there's lots of other benefits as well, but one of them as an example, because we're talking about the concentrated solar, if you want to run that concentrated solar on effluent as an example, you then get a grade A biosolid, which is really fantastic. And Queensland has already got an end of waste code for using biosolids on land use. So you could run that in a beautiful partnership, because a lot of the soil that people are working with isn't soil at all, it's dirt, which means that it's degraded soil. So you can use the biochar to turn your dirt into soil as a simple way of speaking whilst running the partnership with the hydro farms and using your water for irrigation.
Excellent. Nice circular style there as well to keep things moving through. Another question, I think it's a question that someone has written is that they realise RPI aren't in Queensland at the moment. You just mentioned Queensland, but are looking to move here. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So as soon as we're allowed to, we will be heading across, and we'll be located in Toowoomba, and of course the manufacturing for the we're looking at putting up there with the CS Med is in Toowoomba as well. So we'll be over there as soon as we're allowed to. I'm hoping it's warmer than where I am.
I've got a t-shirt on today. Of course it's warm. It's all good.
So cold.
Wonderful.
Thank
excellent. All right. I think I've got those questions. Let me just double check I didn't miss one. So people very happy, think it's great. Well done on the pitch. But I don't think there was another actual question there at the moment. So just remember, if you do have another question for Abby, then feel free to hold on to that for when we jump into the breakout rooms in a little bit. All right, thanks Abby, that was really great. So we are up to pitch number 5, and now we're going to introduce Jarrah Industries. So we've got Trent on the line today, and Tyson's not with us because he is also out working, but Trent is with us to answer questions afterwards. So Kurt, when you're ready, we'll get you to bring that one up and we'll hear from Trent from Jarrah.
Good morning everyone, and welcome to MIRA. Australia's fledgling hydrogen industry faces a major problem: developing local infrastructure quick enough to establish itself ahead of other countries as a world powerhouse exporter of renewable energy. My name is Trent Humphreys, and together with my co-founder Tyson Cooney, own and operate Jarrah Industries, an engineering, projects and fabrication company in Toowoomba, Queensland. Hydrogen is the most abundant element in the universe. It can be found in a multitude of places, but nowhere more than water. Producing green hydrogen, processing water through electrolysis, powered by solar or wind, is rather straightforward. The problem is in scaling this process up and having the infrastructure required for exporting this zero-emission gas. Hydrogen is extremely light. It is 3.2 times less dense than natural gas and 2,700 times less dense than unleaded petrol. This makes transporting and storing H2 a lot more challenging than existing energy sources. It requires specialised compression techniques, purpose-built pressure vessels, compact cooling equipment, and unique transport systems. At Jarrah Industries, we solve problems and create integrated solutions through design and fabrication of bespoke equipment and products, We provide a design to delivery service. With over 40 years combined experience in design and manufacturing, we have a broad range of industry experience to lean on. We have over 20 years combined building equipment in oil and gas sector. This has provided us with an invaluable gas and liquids handling experience in the areas of gas compression, storage, process, flaring, and transport. By 2030, green hydrogen exports are said to be worth $1.7 billion annually. Our ambitious northern trading partners, Japan and South Korea, have signalled their intent to import our renewable energy. Australia is in a great position to become a major hydrogen exporter, as we are already recognised for being a stable energy supplying nation. The many challenges lay in managing the scale up and the infrastructure rollout. In 2018, we started Jarrah Industries with a focus on hydrogen and developing equipment for this sector. We invested heavily in the best engineering software, fabrication equipment, and cloud-based quality management system, which aligns us with ISO 9001 and ISO 3834. We work closely collaborating with other companies in hydrogen, including H2H Energy and CS Gas. We're currently developing heat exchangers, stage compression units, buffer tanks, and tube trailers. Our team is small, yet it is mighty. Tyson and I are the founders and directors, and we have a wonderful group of trusty sidekicks. Paul, Mark, Simon, and Justin are all extremely talented in their fields. We could not achieve what we do without these tremendous efforts of our team. The future for Jarrah is to grow to a point where we are established as the premier hydrogen equipment manufacturer for Australia. The products mentioned all play an integral part in the hydrogen value chain and are often engineered and customised to a unique location or project, which means they are not an off-the-shelf item. This makes Jarrah a great option for Australian-made hydrogen equipment. When you buy Australian-made, you are buying equipment that is designed and manufactured to the most stringent standards in the world. This gives you a premium quality product that is not at risk of international shipping delays. From our current position, the next steps for Jarrah is to involve our equipment in hydrogen pilot programs, test facilities, and small-scale commercial operations like fueling stations. Jarrah is looking for companies with hydrogen equipment concepts they would like brought to life. We're looking for more joint venture and collaboration projects, and we are certainly open to R&D. But mostly, we would welcome introductions to anyone who just wants to talk hydrogen and future opportunities. My name is Trent Humphreys and our company is Jarrah Industries. Thank you.
Wonderful and great presentation there, Trent, and we played all the way through, so that's awesome. So if you've got questions for Trent, then please pop them in the chat, and I think they're coming through already. So yeah, pop them in, either open to everyone or just to me privately is also fine. So this one says a bit of a general question. Can you comment on the current state of the opportunity in hydrogen as an industry for the Toowoomba-Surat Basin region?
Yeah, well, I mean, as stated in the pitch there, hydrogen's in its infancy, but I think being so close to Surat Basin and the links it has to export easements to Curtis Island, we're in a great position here in Toowoomba and the Surat Basin. It's early days, but the wheels are in motion with a few projects kicking off. One in Wallumbilla that comes to mind, and a couple others that are coming forth as we speak. So, yeah, I think things are really happening, and it's an exciting space to be around.
Excellent. And I love the fact that you're kind of in space with your background. That just made that work really well. Very good. Thanks, Trent. All right, if you've got another question for Trent, just let us know. But a few comments there coming through. So a couple of people will be in touch. They're excited for the future of hydrogen. This one, which fuel is likely to be disrupted the most by hydrogen?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and largely remains to be seen. But I think the obvious ones are your diesels and petrol. I mean, heavy industry relies on diesel, and that's one of the heaviest polluters. And I think hydrogen can replace a lot of your large transport ships and road transport trucks. So I think they'll be the first to go in being replaced by hydrogen. But there's a lot of advantages to it, but I think they will be the ones that will go first, diesel and petrol.
Wonderful, thank you. And that's just a few more people saying well done. How close are we, in your view, from a hydrogen run car as the normal?
Yep. Oh, look, I mean, they're already in Australia, hydrogen run cars. State government already owns a small fleet of them, so they are available to purchase. They're quite expensive at the moment. How common are they at the moment? Not very common, but I think in the next 5, 6, 7 years, I think we'll start to see them. I mean, you look how quickly Teslas were adapted, and the price come down as manufacturing expanded. So it'll be the same thing with hydrogen cars, and companies like Toyota and Mitsubishi and Hyundai are already got them, and it's a matter of people adopting them. So yeah, but I think 5 years we'll certainly see them driving around town.
Wonderful. And just my own question, out of curiosity, if someone had a hydrogen car and come to Toowoomba, where can they fuel it up?
Well, the closest refueling station to Toowoomba is getting built at Brisbane. So yeah, you could manually fill them up, Joy, if you went and got yourself a hydrogen cylinder from BAC or somewhere like that. But an actual fueling station, someone might have to build one. So if anyone wants to hook up and talk about that, we could certainly do that.
Sounds like a good idea. Wonderful. All right. I think otherwise it's just people saying good job. So and let's do that. All right. So that's great. Thanks so much for that, Trent. And obviously, yeah, remember any other questions. And when I'm saying questions as well, I will just put it out to everyone listening. It's not just questions, but obviously each of the teams has got a bit of an ask there for some introductions or connections. So think of your networks and who you think might be a valuable connection point for all of our teams. And then when we go into the breakout rooms, jump in and have a chat about that as well and see if they know that person already, or perhaps you can make a warm introduction. Would be great. So we're now up to our final pitch of the morning, and we've got Kurt, who's been controlling our videos. So thank you, Kurt, for making sure you do play everyone else's and not just play your own continuously. But it's your turn now, so we'll get you to share. Kurt from Quick Safety has got a pitch for us now as well. And we can just see, zoom, there we go.
Hi, my name is Kurt Alexander, and I'm the founder and CEO of Quick Safety. Quick Safety is a RegTech innovator that specifically deals with electrical compliance and safety. It was born out of the frustration of myself and others in the industry in my 39-year involvement in and around the electrical industry. This frustration comes when electricians are required to ensure testing is completed to the Australian standard limits, yet are not equipped properly to ensure that this happens. The current system relies on one single electrician's word. That is, if testing is even completed in the first place. I'll give you this analogy. Our current road rules have speed limits. In training for our driver's license, we're taught the limits in certain areas and know that there'll be posted speed limit signs to remind us that we should not be exceeding that limit. We also have police to monitor this and ensure that we obey the rules. In the electrical world, the electrician is taught the speed limit or the standards, yet there are no signs, there's no guidance, or police for the oversight to ensure that the job was done correctly and safely. Quick Safety makes sure that everyone knows that electrical compliance, a federally mandated test, is A, that it is being done in the first place, B, that it's completed according to the Australian standards, and C, that records are kept and maintained for the required 7-year period, and D, probably the most important for the asset owner, that you know the health of your electrical circuits and RCDs on site. This will prevent power faults and failures, to prevent downtime due to those outages, and also prevent electrocutions to ensure that all people on site are safe and protected. We've spent 4 years in development of a fully certified AS NZS 3000 and 3017 system. It's fully approved from each state's electrical regulator and the mining regulators. We ensure testing is completed. It's easy to see if it's passed or failed, securely stored for a complete 7-year time frame, and complete certificates of compliance on the job, removing all administration from the current system. So why should this be such a big deal to asset owners? It's the electrician and the contractor's fault if anything goes wrong, right? Wrong. Any compliance or safety incident on any site will invoke the Workplace Health and Safety Act, Section 5, PCBU rulings, person conducting a business or undertaking. This places all responsibility of site compliance and safety back on the directors of that asset, your company. Now, everyone from the electrician to the electrical contractor to the asset owner's company and the company directors are all directly responsible. Last year's court actions prove that the federal and state governments are taking this seriously. Can your company stand up in court and say they did all they can to ensure the safety of people on site? Do you have oversight and validation across all of your electrical assets? This is why Quick Safety exists. What I find frustrating in most of my corporate mining and oil and gas approaches is that even if on-site electrical engineers and supervisors think the product is great, they don't commit to even a trial. Surprising, isn't it? I've come to the conclusion that it could be for various reasons. One, they don't want to promote it in case it doesn't work and they get the blame. Two, they're on tight budgets and just say no anyway, as they know they must beat the budget for that year. Or three, they've tried to push something else in their career and it got shot down, so now they do nothing except for keep their head down and maintain their job. These are the most common ones I've come across. So, our approach at Quick Safety is to get in front of senior management, the people who make things happen, the people who understand the risk factors, the movers, the shakers. They're the ones that can take the lead, encourage an open and healthy discussion with others in exploring what the current risks are and if the company wants to wear those risks or not. In 2017, Quick Safety was awarded 1 of 8 slots in the Igniting METS Accelerator powered by KPMG. In 2018, we were picked up by MIRA as well. It's fantastic to be in 2 of the 6 federally funded industry growth centers and being promoted by them. All existing mining and oil and gas companies should be working very closely with these 2 centers. They can provide in-depth knowledge of innovation in the industry, what's working, what's not working, and give you vetted Australian innovative companies to benefit your company now, today. It's only by a collaborative approach of working together that we can share the knowledge and the pain points we have and achieve a great outcome. So, let's work together.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Kurt. And glad that one played all the way through. Otherwise, you would have been having to do it live.
Oh,
Very
no.
good. I'm sure you can. You do it all the time.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So if you've got questions for Kurt, pop them in the chat as well, and we'll raise them. And I think a couple come through while you were playing that one. So a question there is, the opportunity to export this technology application and save more lives seems huge. Are there future plans to take this to other countries, and what countries might be the first you would target?
Sure, excellent question. Well, we've built the entire system to focus on compliance. So the electrical industry is where I've spent 39 years of my life, so I know it really well. And that's the first industry we're hitting across Australia and New Zealand with the single standard. We now have interest from the European Union. So that will be our first major external country to deal with. Their database of electricians for one single company that we're dealing with is 6 times our entire market here in Australia. So we know that Australia is our proving ground, but the actual compliance that is a problem electrically globally is massive and heaps bigger than our population here.
Excellent. And there was another question that was similar, which said, have you looked at addressing international electrical standards and including them in the app? So obviously that's an extension.
Yeah, so the electrical standards internationally as well. So you have different standards as well as our Australian standards. And that is our next port of call, is to make sure that once you get far enough offshore, you then deal with the international standards. And that will be our next leap as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Another one is, by mandating the use of the Quick Safety app on work sites, do organisations get pushback from electrical contractors?
Yeah, good question. A lot of companies are hesitant on mandating it across their site because they don't want to upset their existing contractors that they have on tender. This isn't really an issue because the fact that we're not locking anyone down to a contract, we're not locking them down to a monthly fee, it's all pay per use. And we've found in every one of our cases to where it is mandated across the site, the electrical contractors have finally gotten the actual idea of how easy it is to use and the risk it removes for them, because really it's a win-win situation from all the way from the electrician, the electrical contractor, and then to the asset owner. So it's not just a single focused platform that's only going to help and benefit one single entity. It affects everybody up and down that chain.
Excellent. Then another question, how can you get predictability of power faults and non-compliance?
So it's a good question. So currently the system deals with an inspection sheet like this, and the test results are recorded on there, and then that's stored for that required 7-year period, supposedly. So what we do is, because we're putting it through a digital platform, and now we can have AI and machine learning over those existing results, every compounded actual new test, and in the mining industry in Australia here, we're required to retest every circuit from 3 to 6 months. Western Australia, they're testing every circuit every month. So now we have the ability to actually tell continuity, whether the inside of that copper is conducting electricity like it should, which is going to prevent a power failure, or the insulation resistance and fault loop impedance, which is basically tells how safe is the outside structure of that cable to prevent fires, damage, electrocutions. Now we can tell that, and we can predict that before it even happens. This is the first time in the industry that this has ever been available. And that's probably one of the greater things, other than our national safety alerts, which we came out with the safety industry, with the electrical industry. This is probably the next biggest thing that I'm super excited about, because once companies understand that, they won't have a problem with power outages.
Excellent. I think a lot of people would be grateful for that. Let me just check. So well done. I think that's all the questions that have come through at this point. So thank you for that, Kurt. And just a reminder to everybody, if you have a question, you can ask Kurt directly in just a few minutes. So that is our final pitch. So we've got a couple of things that we want to run through before we pop you out into the breakout rooms to have a chat with the guys. And unfortunately, and girls, we have, no beers and food that we'd normally have the networking section of the day. But what we do want to do at this this point is say a few thank yous, because this program has not happened just, you know, today. It's been happening for the last 6 weeks, and there've been a lot of people involved. So can I just get a quick thumbs up from maybe Kurt or David that I can see? Can you see my slides? Yep, awesome, thank you. So over the past 6 weeks, as David mentioned in the beginning, there's been more than 90 conversations that have happened between our teams and various mentors from across the industry. And we're really, really grateful to them all. So we just wanted to do a quick little recognition of thank you to them. So across the weeks, oh, there we go. So we've had Dallas Gibb from IP Active. We have had Gregory Lee from GHD, Stuart Hazel from Fusidium, Prashant, I won't try, I get it wrong. No, I'm not going to try. From Arrow Energy, thanks Prashant. Melissa Welland from Department of State Development, Manufacturing, Infrastructure and Planning. Quinton Morgan from QTech. And Jeremy Phillips from QTech as well. Paul Hodgson from MIRA. Mark Orchard from BDO. Angela B. Chan from Schneider Electric, and also from Hackathons Australia. Kurt Alexander also jumped in as a mentor for us, in addition to being a participant from Quick Safety. David Macefield from Startup Toowoomba. Rowan Hellier from RDH Integrations. Anthony Holsfort from Ostmine. And Gregory Lee. And Gary Elks from USQ. And Ali, also from USQ. Lisa Clark from Retrohex. Ben Wood from McCulloch Robertson. And Andrew Tuxford from RME. So I know you probably can't see everybody or hear everybody, but I'll give a little round of applause and a very big thank you to all of our mentors who gave their time to come along, and some a couple of times, and a lot of conversations that happened during the sessions but have also continued after the sessions as well. So we're really, really grateful. And if you're looking at that going, oh, I wish I'd been involved as a mentor, then please let us know. We do hope to run this program again in 2021. So we'd love to have your details on our potential mentor list for next year. Now, we would normally give out some certificates to our participants to recognise the work that they've done. Obviously, we can't be here to give you a hug and shake your hand and hand it over, but we're going to present them virtually for you, and then we'll get them to you afterward as well. So we do just want to recognise the work that's gone into it. This program is not only about putting together a pitch, but it's about building a business. It's about going through the steps, and as David mentioned at the beginning, really looking at how can you build and develop the capability of these businesses to better service our METS sector here in Australia and potentially abroad as well. And how can we start to commercialise some of the research that's being done and the development of new technologies. So the teams have worked really hard over the last 6 weeks to get where they are, and obviously many years prior to that for many of them as well. So we want to say congratulations and thank you to SensorWeb, so Simon and Darren, well done. Also to Max Lancer, so Tree for being with us all the time, and David for being his trusty sidekick in the background, so well done. To Concentrated Solar, so JWA Oil, so Hensley, well done. And RPI Solutions, so Abby is with us and Ben as well, so great job, and so glad. I'm just going to recognise that this is our 2nd year of running MIRA, and Abby is our first female participant, so I'm super excited that we've started to reach out into a little bit of gender diversity, so thank you for joining us. Also Jarrah Industries, so Trent being with us and Tyson in the background there as well. So thank you guys and well done. And Quick Safety, so Kurt, so thank you and well done to you as well. And I know this has been a long journey for you with METS Ignited through some of the previous programs and with MIRA as well. So we're really grateful that you were with us for this one and glad to see the progress that you're making there too. So well done.